There are, it seems like, hundreds of different versions of the Leatherman Surge clone that pretty much look exactly like the Leatherman Surge. That is not what this video is about. We will be covering multi-tools that are a little bit different to the Leatherman Surge, and most of them will be drastically cheaper. I'm talking about half the price of the Leatherman Surge, delivering things that the Leatherman Surge doesn't. That's what this video will be covering. And I've got 5 tools, most of them half the price of the Leatherman Surge, that are pretty exciting. Most of them we've seen come out this year. The Leatherman Surge has long reigned pretty much king of the multi-tool world, whether you talk about budget or otherwise. Pretty much the Leatherman Surge is just always the tool people say this is the best, period. But when we talk about budget multi-tools, that market is really heating up because there are so many tools like this Decoyu Reborn that are sort of making that space reimagine, and I've got 5 of them for you today. And the first is this design right here. Now, this design comes with a very large knife on the one hand, a saw on the other, file, screwdriver, large set of scissors, hammer end, cutter right here that you can replace the clip, open this up, bit driver. This is a sharpening rod, and this one there are some you can get ferro rods, or at least I could. You used to be able to with the whistle. Yeah, that is a really cool tool. Pretty minimalist. Your tools are basically, well, they are on the outside with this extra bit holder. Now, this tool comes in around $60, but there are versions of this made by other companies that come in even cheaper on AliExpress sometimes. This is a really neat tool, pretty much at a budget price that you can sometimes find under $50. That is fantastic. This is essentially a clone of the Leatherman Mutt to some extent, but definitely a lot of things have changed. You don't have the firearm tools. A lot of the handles have been reimagined in the tools that they carry. But yeah, this is a heavier duty tool, especially with this hammer end that is far cheaper. This is over half the price from Decoyu, and from other brands, I have seen them even discounted further. The next tool I want to talk about, this is a little bit off the beaten path. We'll talk about a couple of these where the pliers aren't really the reason I would call these heavy duty, even though these pliers are fine. Let's compare this with the Leatherman Surge. In the end, I'll do a weight ratio, but these pliers are nothing to laugh at. They are almost the same size, I guess, as the Leatherman Surge, not that far off. They're fairly large, but it's the handle that pretty much makes the difference. So on the inside, all Phillips screwdriver, flat screwdriver, bottle opener. On the outside, I like these reflective pieces that you can see your tool in the dark. Scissors, very long knife, long file, the saw. Then this is the tool. Yeah, you have not only the pliers, but now you have pretty much a wrench on the end. That is pretty neat, and I have taken this to work, and it seems to work pretty well. But this right here is pretty much the same size as a Leatherman Surge, at least on the one side of the handle. It's almost a little bit larger than the Leatherman Surge, but you sort of get that in between where it's got a little bit smaller pliers, but then it's packing an extra tool that makes it for some people perhaps even more useful than the Leatherman Surge. Now, obviously, the Leatherman Surge has a little bit of a different tool set than this one right here, but for some people, they could find this as a very cool tool to meet a couple needs. And this one, the Wobank 16-in-1, comes in around $43 on Amazon at the moment. I could see this being very useful for plumbers, mechanics, those in HVAC, different trades. Pretty neat option. Now, I have been singing the praises of this tool for a very long time. This comes in $44, which I think is one of the best deals you can get on Amazon. This is the GHK, known as the 17-in-1. Some places, I think it's the 21-in-1. On Amazon, 17-in-1. Now, spring-loaded Leatherman Surge style pliers, wire cutters, can have the spot where you can crimp a little bit at the bottom, but most all the tools yeah, they'll be outside, or they are outside, except obviously the pliers are in the inside. The T-shank adapter, the serrated blade, regular blade, nice scissors, really nice pocket clip, pretty cool bit driver. This comes with the double-sided Phillips. Flat on your file, there's the double-sided file, another flat screwdriver, bottle opener, all can opener. This is a fantastic tool. I have been carrying this to work now for the past, I think, couple weeks in my brand new Leatherman sheath in the large sheath version, and it's been holding up pretty good. I like that it has the pocket clip where you can take the sheath on and off from Leatherman, but this right here is a pretty fantastic tool. $44, I can't stress enough. This is, of all these, this is probably my favorite. Pretty much a new design. It takes a lot of multi-tools and combines them together to just come up with an amazing multi-tool, in my opinion. I really, really like this. I have already used this trying to install a new return air fan, I think it was, the Motor 2-1, and we were up on a ladder, coworker and myself, and I actually dropped this off of a ladder. It's still working great, no problems. So I am testing this out in the field right now, a couple weeks in, and not really any issues with it. Now we'll talk about the big two brands from overseas, Nextool and Roxxon. I'm going to leave the Roxxon for the last, but when I was thinking about this video for Nextool, I think the heavy-duty multi-tool from Nextool definitely would be the Nextool W4. This is sort of revolutionary in that this has a similar mechanism to this tool over here, where you can sort of, with that spring, pivot around bolts. So definitely some people will love this tool because of that almost like ratcheting mechanism. I know a guy at work was saying there needs to be a tool like that, and I said there is. Nextool made it, W4, but pretty neat. Spring-loaded pliers, replaceable wire cutters on the inside, a bit holder, pretty neat. Then when you look at the outside, a long knife, and then two tools here with the file, diamond file, saw, regular file. A very nice tool. Now this one I think does come in somewhere around $60. There are several other clones to the Leatherman Surge that are nice, but they're almost $100, so I'm trying to keep these more under that $75 price range. But the W4 is definitely a pretty nice contender to the heavy-duty multi-tool segment. I've been trying to keep this list pretty much on the budget end, and the Roxxon Titan will pretty much blow that budget at around $110. This will be a very pricey tool, but I did want to include this because this year Roxxon has thrown their hat into the ring of heavier duty multi-tools, and this tool is different from anything else. So let's look at it. This will not be under that $75 or almost around that $50 price point. It will be about twice that, but it is something absolutely new that we haven't seen before in the larger market. Now this will not be exactly the same size as the Leatherman Surge. You can see the Leatherman Surge towers above it to some extent, but then let's open up the pliers of the Roxxon Titan. Let's open up the pliers of the Surge, and it will still be a little shorter, but definitely, yeah, it will be almost the same width in the handles. So I guess it's not quite there in the heavy duty market as in size, but it will be a little bit of a chunky tool. You can replace these blades. You've got a huge D2 blade, and there are so many options to choose from. It's been a little while since I've used this tool. There we go, the scissors, spring-loaded gigantic scissors from the Roxxon Titan, the nice pocket clip, spring-loaded pliers, replaceable wire cutters, a notch you could use for crimping to some extent. On this side, you've got the flex system, and you can add different flex tools in there, whatever you choose. I've got the bit driver, which takes up several slots. I've got a file and a saw at the moment, but if you took the bit driver off, you could fit a lot of other tools in there definitely. At $110, this will be a little bit cheaper than the Leatherman Surge, $40 cheaper. But yeah, it's a totally different take on the heavier duty multi-tool market. So I wanted to include this in the list. This will be maybe more of an honorable listing because of its price, but this is something that has changed the heavier duty multi-tool market for 2026, and the possibilities keep growing in the segment under $150. Now, some people have asked, well, what about some of the other tools like this Beta 1778 MT? I have done a video on that. You can look that up on YouTube. It is a pretty neat tool that is also in the heavy duty multi-tool lineup, and I encourage you to look into that. All the tools are outside opening, but this one will be about twice the price of the GHK. And to be honest, I do like the GHK better than this tool. Even though this seems like a very solid tool, there are a couple things that I like better on the GHK for half the price, and this will be a little bit harder to purchase for those in the US. I tried to do a size comparison of these multi-tools. This is the Roxxon Titan, the Leatherman Surge, the GHK 17-in-1. This is the Wobank. This is the Decoyu Reborn, and this will be the Nextool W4, pretty much in a corresponding height. A lot of these will be a little similar here in the middle. Roxxon Titan will be noticeably shorter, and then these two at the end will be just a little bit taller than the Leatherman Surge. So the Reborn, let's match these up, and you can see because that hammer end, it will be significantly longer than the Leatherman Surge. All right, so we'll do the weight test in grams. 310, Leatherman Surge, 349, 317. Wobank will be 300 grams. Decoyu Reborn, 305. Nextool W4, 312. Turning this 2 ounces, we'll go the other way. Nextool, 11 ounces. Reborn, 10.7. Wobank, 10.6. The GHK, 11.2. The Leatherman Surge, 12.3 ounces. The Roxxon Titan, 11 ounces. So pretty much most of these will be a little bit lighter than the Leatherman Surge.